Welcome to Leadership, Love and Laughter, where we dive into the unspoken truths in life and business. I'm Natalie Potts.
And I'm Victoria Dioh.
Let's go!
Hello, welcome to Leadership, Love and Laughter. My name is Victoria Dioh and you are?
Natalie Potts.
Ha ha ha. What are we talking about today, Potts?
Leadership.
Whoop whoop.
Love it.
Yeah. Tell me, what do you think about leadership? What's your take on it?
It's a privilege.
Oh, you going there, are we? straight up.
In.
Just go straight there.
I think that many people have the ability to be a leader. I think that's where, you're born a leader, all of that. I think, let's be really honest, like human, I think everybody can be. And
yeah.
And more of us are leaders than we see. We just think that it's a leaders in a business. It's not. We're leaders in many hats and walks of life. And I think for me, it essentially comes down to taking like the steps forward and for people with things.
When did you know that you were a leader? What was that moment?
When I always remember actually being asked to go, or really told actually, that I would go for the team leader role at the business I was in.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I just finished uni. I was like, well, there's nothing else happening. I'll look for jobs as well. And what my attitude was, whatever I get, in life, I'll give it my all and see what comes of it. There's never a loss. So I was like, well, I'll go for it, make it the best I can, get as far as I can, as soon as I can. And then I just did really well at it, loved it and continued staying. So I think because that actual role was there, but it was someone seeing something in me probably that made me think, oh, okay. So that was probably the bigger part, because I wanted to go and always do drama schools and everything. And I did a drama degree, but I wanted to then go into drama schools because you had to be slightly more mature student. And then it was that opportunity that had me like, actually. And then people start to, because then you're then defined, you default into that role.
Yeah.
People then are actually, oh, you lead these people. And it's like, actually I say something and people follow, and you guide them. And that for me is probably, I don't always like the word follow, but that's just my language association thing. But definitely idea that, you guide people, you take the lead, the steps forward, and they follow you in that way. And I think you inspire and engage them in a way where they can see it's positive and it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
It's not to find it in a short answer.
Yeah.
But that was one of the moments where I reflect back and think that that's the step-by-step to what I've then answered that of how I could see that was the leader role for me. Yeah. I don't think, actually, interestingly saying it that way, I would have seen myself as a leader if I hadn't have had that opportunity. Because I would, like I said, I was going for the other things in education and such. So I think that's definitely when I was like, yeah, actually, I am a leader. I can do this. And what does that look like as well in the future?
Right. Yeah.
How about you?
At the age of 13.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
that's young. So mine would have been then 20. Yeah, 20 years old.
Yeah. I was 13. And I just remember just being thrust into it, as in people would come to me for advice. And this is what I talk about. Okay, so finding your purpose, right? If you ever think to yourself, oh my God, I don't know what my purpose is, or you start stressing out, don't stress out about your purpose, because your purpose finds you way before you find your purpose, just so you know. But God, I remember being 13 and people would come and tell me their problems. And there was one moment when, or there was one time, this was back in Africa, I was at boarding school, and there was a cook in the boarding school, and he had started chatting up young girls, and it became it was really bad. And I got pushed to the front to go sort it out, and I gathered people and everything. And like, I remember there must have been about a good 50 people behind me, and I went to the kitchen and pulled him out of the kitchen and basically said, you speak to another girl and we're going to the authorities. Like, it ends here. And he never did after that.
Wow.
And I remember that being that's one of my first memories of being a leader, where it was like, Vic will sort it out, like Vic will know what to do and everything else and stuff. So yeah.
I don't remember, like, I can think and joke about, like, well, was I with my brother? But no, he, like, definitely changed suit at some point, where I realised that punching my brother was going to end in me.
That's
in
not
tears.
leadership.
Not him, yeah. That's not leadership.
Yeah.
That's just brother-sister relationships. But even thinking back to, like you using examples there, like as a... Before those years, I was never confident in everything. And I was always that person a bit more in the pack as such.
Yeah.
I'd never be that...
Yeah.
Oh,
God,
that
yeah.
friends even and stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, no, God, I've always been that. And it's really funny. I was talking to a journalist recently, and they were asking about, like, how I got to the point where I've become this African oracle and everything else. And they're like, oh my God, like, you've been in a place of authority for most of your life. I'm like, yeah. And it's not been voluntary and stuff. It's just happened. Like, I remember when I was 15, and I was at day school by this time. My parents pulled me out of boarding school because I was turning into a not so good girl. And they pulled me out of boarding school and were like, right, you're going to go to day school. You're going to stay at home. We're going to see you every night. We're going to know where you are, blah, blah, blah. And the school that I went to, I would get dropped off by my dad, and there would be somebody who'd come and take my school bag and take it upstairs, like one of the students.
Shut up.
I've just realised as I'm talking. Yeah, somebody would come and pick it up, like literally. Somebody
absolutely have so much empathy for that person, so know what it feels like.
No word of a lie. Like they'd come up and they'd take my bag, take it upstairs, and I got made. I remember being made. God, what was I made? Sort of like the president of the football club. I didn't even play football. I wasn't even sporty, right? And whenever there was a football match, somebody would take a chair downstairs and put it by the football field, and I'd sit there.
How old were you?
I was 15.
It's ridiculous.
I know. And
like, what happened last year, where we were at an event, and I got like, it just, nothing was even really said. I just went to get the door for you, and you walked through, and then I came through, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? And we both had about laughing like this. I was like, what? Like, it's just really natural that I did that.
I know.
And it's never thought. Like, it's not like, like people probably think, poor Nat, like, she must be a dragon. I'm like, yeah, no. But you're not. Like, it's not.
No,
it's
not.
just really natural that.
It is natural that people.
That's where I say about the magnetic field thing you have going on. And when we spoke with my friend, our friend Mikey Spice, and he was like, what is it? And I was like, I know, did you got the magnetic pull, didn't you? He was like, what is it? And I was like, I don't know, Mike. I was like, it's just weird, isn't it? It's just there.
I've just realised as I was telling you the story, I was like, you sometimes just pick up my bag or open the door and stuff, or go get me a drink and stuff, and you're like, do you need me to do anything else and stuff? Funny. But it's funny how I just receive it, and I don't think anything of it. Like, it's not that I expect it, but it's just there. But yeah,
it's also interesting that other people don't do that with you.
Huh.
Do you not think? Like, there are, like, I could look at, we've been to places, and others wouldn't. But, and like I said, mine was very natural. Yeah. But then that doesn't happen with some people, does it?
I don't know, because I really don't look at it and stuff. But I think people give to me in different ways. Yeah. And again, it comes back to receiving.
Like, you and I had a bit of a conversation the other day, because we always just have random conversations. But when we don't have to go into depth of it. I can't even remember the whole of it. But we were talking about the ghost scene with Whoopi Goldberg, right? Oh yeah. And there are times that I feel like that. But I think for some, like, there's probably got to be something stemming in me to feel that vibration. Yeah. And this is where, like, I'm not a massively woo person. No. But then I often say that because it's almost like a defence. I'm not, but I am.
By the time I finish,
I do in other ways. You will be. I am in other ways, so aren't I? And I think what I know of it is, it's a very personal thing to me when I am in that. If I'm in that space or whatever, I don't share it with many people because I don't know what it means to me sometimes. Of course. I know there's something there, and I'm huge on energy, if anything. Yeah. But like, and I don't shun it off. I do, like, I'm curious probably to it, but I think some people think, well, you can't be curious, and what is it to me? But I know there's something when I'm with you that's very different, and I think that's where we said, like, even our first conversations with this, that we were saying about it feels a bit like I don't have the answers to it. It's just we just get on as
just
well.
is.
It's just very much there,
Yeah.
and I can see that other people. I could see that people would want to be that with you,
Yeah.
and you just don't have that with them.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
very rare. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
That like that part. Some people don't have that.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's
I mean,
really
it must be painful when you go to events and I'm not there.
well, do you know what? It's like I go to bed and I go pots. And I just sort of like just channel you in. But
So
yeah,
funny.
do you know what? It's really funny because I don't expect it. But this is how I connect it to leadership is sometimes you don't need to expect it. And a lot of leaders expect almost too much. Meanwhile, you need to give something to receive. So like I know without being big-headed, and I've had to lean into this, by the way, that being around me is quite potent energetically. And I've had to, it's taken me a long time to go, I receive that, I own it.
But right, okay, so this is great because this is like the essence of what I think of leadership as well is. I remember going into certain environments in the corporate world and I go to places sometimes I have to sort them out, etc., like from a results point of view, but I just sense a feeling in like somewhere, how it was run and how it wasn't. And it's, again, that's what, when you talk about this, what that's bringing to me is there's I remember seeing that with certain leaders as well. Just there was naturally an essence about them that was very different and intuitive as well. Like they would hear what's not being said. They communicate on different levels and different depths with people. And that's what I'm saying, the born leader stuff versus not. But sometimes I think those skills aren't naturally something you can just build on either. Some people just have that as a skill.
Yeah, but I think
I
think you can be open to learning though, because to be honest with you, my biggest frustration around leadership is people not realizing that they're leaders.
Yeah, it's true.
It's one of my It's one of my biggest frustrations. So, for example, our clients are both business and corporate leaders, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But I can guarantee you that there's going to be somebody listening to this going, well, I'm not a leader, so it doesn't account.
Yeah, I
it
get
doesn't
it.
mean
And that annoys me too.
And that annoys me because it's like, actually, you are a leader. Lean into it, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I teach people how to use their intuition. So you can embody your intuition, right?
True.
You can embody your intuition. What a lot of people do, though, and here's the thing. You're conditioned. From the day you were born, you're conditioned. You're conditioned to think... you're conditioned to be scared. You're conditioned to love. You're conditioned for all different things, but you're mirroring the people who you've learned from and from society. So your parents, society, your family, and everything else. And and we can't help it because we're all human. We are going to use those wounds that we've experienced, so those places of lack, to actually manage our teams. And if you use your intuition, you do it better and you remove the emotions. So you're coming from a place of pure authenticity. It's something that I think anybody can be a leader. You just have to want it and learn how to do it. Or in my case, accept it because you ain't got a choice. And that was my case.
It's incredibly frustrating as well if I think back to like how much I would have benefited from this in those roles from a personal perspective. And actually I love the point around responsibility because I don't think enough people do take responsibility for their leaders in what they're doing around that. And I loved personal development always, and I probably will do, but if I'd have known, like, I didn't know this existed, or even to think intuitively about myself or role, everything, if I had to think back to where that would have taken me in terms of the results I would have gotten, like professionally, but through with my team, would have been incredible.
But do you know what? You are where you are.
Yeah.
And we talked earlier on about presence, right? Being present in and here's the thing. You learn when you're ready to learn. So one of the things that I find, so I was at an event 2 years ago, I think it was, or was it last year? 2 years ago. And I walked into a room and I said to people, and I said hello to all these individual people. And there must have been about, I reckon, 70 to 100 people there. And as I was saying hello to everyone, I was asking them about their lives. So I was like, really good to see you. We've not met before. How's your book going? Blah, blah. And this girl turned around to me. She went, do you know everybody here? And I was like, no. And she's like, you know everything that's really important about every single person you're speaking to. And I was like, I guess I do. She's like, well, how do you do that? I was like, that's what I do. And being a leader isn't just about people following you. It's about you paying an interest in what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest mistake, because here's the thing, right? We all want to be seen. We all need to be seen. Tony Robbins talks about your 6 human needs. He talks about significance, and he talks about certainty, uncertainty. He talks about being loved. He talks about contribution, growth, and there's another one in there somewhere and stuff. But he talks about all these things, and he says at one point in your life, one of those is going to lead, right? One of those is always going to lead. And leaders forget that. They latch on to the person who's their right hand person, and they get to know them well, and then everybody else is just, you're just there. And I look at it from intuitively. If you dig deep into your heart, you start to think about how that person is, and noticing that they don't seem happy, or that they're not being productive, and not coming from a place of lack of productivity means you're shit at your job.
Yeah.
It's more like lack of productivity. There's something not going well with them. And when people feel that, people love it. And that's what I have with people around me. It's not necessarily that people look at me and go, oh my God, she needs a door opening for her, she needs a bag. It's because I connect much more deeper to people. So people feel seen. So guess what? They'll see me.
How do you teach that?
You have to come on one of my courses, aren't you? Or book me 1-to-1 on a VIP day, aren't you? But yeah, I mean, there's ways for you to be able to do that, because it's about making you more aware intuitively.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that the last few years of leading teams. I remember one particular challenging environment I was in. It was the most I've pretty much 19 years in that business. That was the most challenging one I'd had, even working in London. It was really remote and different. But there was a young lad in there who I hadn't met, and I'd done a few weeks there, and I was like, that's on me. I haven't introduced and met him yet, and we just haven't crossed paths. But I said to the team, I said, what's going on there? He's like, oh, he's shit. And I was like, no, he's not just shit. Like, there's something more than that. I need to understand what it is. And I just went and had a chat with him. And then said, come and chat with me, let's get to know you. And we were chatting for about 10 minutes. He said, oh, I'm autistic. And then he talked about other things. And he's, some horrific things happening at home. And I went to the team after, and I shared what was rightfully, like I could do confidential and stuff. And I said, did any of you know this? And they said, no. I said, how long has he worked here? They said, 4 years. I said, I've been here 2 weeks. I said, I think that's flawed that I've not said hello in 2 weeks. I mean, it wasn't about passing blame or anything like that, or, like, you haven't done this and that. But it was that, I think for me, it was that crap. Like, I can build those relationships quickly and sense something that's not being said, and also seeing past the crap that we're, again, the expectations of maybe how lots of people, like business is forced to us because we're so pressured and sometimes in it. We focus on the wrong things and not the right things. Yeah.
And also, here's the thing, right? For those leaders out there who are thinking, oh my God, that's me. I'm not connected to my team.
Nah.
You've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I'm a human.
You're a human. You've got a lot of work to do. You're in the depth of trying to get work done.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're getting the work done, you can't see the wood for the trees. So sometimes things are going to slip, but it's actually being intentional to go, do you know what? I need to get to know people. I need to pay attention more to the humans that are doing my work, because they're not machines, right? They're not machines. And here's the secret as well, is that if you can really hone into your intuition, oh my God, like I get so much out of my relationships with friends and everything else. Like I am one lucky human.
You are 100% there. The ripple effect it has on many relationships. Yesterday, so I've got a community, and this week has been, I think as well, I've spoken to a lot of friends and family, and you just get a sense that like life's tough for people as well, right? It's just one of those points, and we can be grateful and it's great, but it's tough. And there's just been a few things that have happened, but blimey. And I went to them and I said, look, I guess it come down to bits of money stuff, but I gave them like I've got a Starbucks thing anyway, but I was like, here's a coffee, go and grab a coffee. I'll give them a little voucher thing and they can all grab a coffee over the weekend. I said, I want you to take some downtime, me time for you. I don't want to be like, oh, she's amazing. Like I said, I want you to go and take this time. And I think it's just that part of, again, sometimes when it's that leader part of, sometimes being out of your comfort zone with stuff and doing something that's different, breaking a norm, breaking through the noise, listening to people, listening to what's not being said, and also feeling a bit like, oh, how will people take that? You know, 'cause some people take things right and some wrong, but come from a good intention perspective. And intuitively, it felt right to slow things down as well and say that, again, like you just said, like they're human and this is okay. And when I'm struggling, my struggle is not to just crack on with it and work harder. Sometimes it works for me, but other times it's that I just need to say, in dark times, I give back. Like I know that, like what I'm coming to here is you can learn to see, well, what works well for me, and like as a strategy side as well, or what do I need to do? Like you just said, learn, like if you're not sure where this is, like start by learning and embracing like what is my intuition and understanding what it means to you.
Yeah,
break the patterns a bit.
Yeah. So what I was leading towards though was the fact that the great thing about intuition is you can even lean in and get to understand people's values more.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that happens, reality is that not all leaders are necessarily responsible for recruiting their team. Sometimes you may walk into a team that's already there and you've just got to work with them. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you get given the space to recruit the people that you need or maybe have similar values. And understanding people's values, here's the thing, like people may have similar values to a certain point, but not all. And there's, you know, there's ways to actually almost do like value mirroring and value substitution that will still be able to get the best out of people. But your intuition is your top tool. And what tends to happen is people, so here's the thing, people tell me that they're working with their intuition and they're at level 1, right? And there's like 5 different levels of your intuition that people don't get to. And as a result, the self-sabotage keeps on happening over and over and over again. But again, that's nobody's fault and that's not a criticism, because in society takes it away from you all the time. You get told what to believe, you get told how to dress, you get told what the norm is and stuff. Like, you know, it's like we've just come out of a whole space of, you know, lockdown and what to do and what not to do, and then all of a sudden the rules break down and you're like, hang on, where are the rules anymore and stuff, and it's left so many people confused, right? That is a huge part of conditioning, whether you agree with the concept or not. So intuition in leadership is so important and it has a knock-on effect on so much. But, you know, what I was also going to allude to is I can really say that what I get back from the people that I create relationships from is incredible. And it's not just one form of currency.
Yeah.
It's a multiple form of currency that comes back to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are your values often aligned to theirs?
Not always. Not always. And sometimes, but when I say not always, in some cases, I think, well, we're so far apart that maybe this probably won't work, or actually we're not completely aligned, but our values are similar.
I think it's easier though to have more of a focus on my values now than when I was in the corporate world. I worried all about theirs. I didn't worry about my own the same.
Yeah, but you've done more work on yours.
Yeah.
And again,
I think that would help me now, actually, if I went back to that environment, is knowing.
Yeah, but you're not so again, it's only in the personal development world that you're asked to talk about your values. When you're in the corporate world, you're taught to know about the company's values, like it's in your training pack, right?
That's the thing.
So you don't know, but you don't know what you don't know. Right. And the only reason why in the personal development world they talk about values is because they assume that once you hit the personal development world that you're going to want to do have a business. So there's that, and it's with that in mind more than anything else. I don't think there's any right or wrong, but knowing what you would love. So, for example, and this is why I say your purpose will always find you before you find it. So I remember when I was at uni, I always knew I was never going to work weekends. I always knew that I was going to be in charge. I always knew that I was going to make lots of money. There were certain things that I always knew, and everything I did compounded towards that. And it didn't take much effort, but I always knew, I always had that standard. And Bob Proctor says, even if you don't believe it, if you keep saying it, you're going to eventually believe it. And I just knew it. Like it always was. Yeah, it always was. So I always had that level of things. So I wasn't thinking about my values or anything. I just knew that I knew that I was going to be at a certain level.
Yeah.
And then when I started working, I knew that I knew that I was not going to be in the office every day. I knew that I was going to travel more than I was in the office. Like I always set those standards, and I did all those things. And I knew that I wanted luxury time. For me, freedom is one of my biggest values, and freedom to be able to do what I want when I want. And it's always been that. And it's really funny because there are times when I have fallen short of those values, and it's always shown up and manifested in different ways in how I show up, either in my work or in my happiness and everything else. And it's like, this is you, this is your value, and it means a lot to you. So you have to be free. And that's why freedom for me is always important, which is why I create opportunities that sometimes go beyond logic.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
If you were to sum this up and bring in like a point to this in terms of leadership, intuition, what sharing around values and everything so far, what would that be? You're a person first.
Yeah. Before you're a leader.
Yeah.
And as long as you remind yourself that every day, your approach to how you show up will definitely change.
It's interesting because you very much go into your all with this. Like you can feel it's very natural for you. Like this is like what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah, but so this is where it's very different, because, and a lot of people that I know are similar to you. So you've got more resonance with people because you've been in the corporate world. It's not worked out for you. You've gone, nope, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm going to set up a business.
Yeah.
I never wanted to set up a business. Like I had a business, but I had a food business, but it was more pleasure and stuff. It was just like, I'm just going to do this, and I just flowed with it, and I just danced with it. It was great, and I just loved being in it, but I was never going to leave it, and I was never going to leave working and do this. When people say to me, what does your business mean to you, or how important is it? I always say it's a matter of life or death. If I'm not helping people to tune into their intuition, if I'm not helping people find their purpose, if I'm not healing people, I will not be on this earth. I'll die. And I know that. And it's probably why I get so emotional about it, because even when I look at the struggle, because, I'll say to my mom, if this wasn't a calling, I could leave it tomorrow. If it wasn't a calling, I could leave it tomorrow. I could do something else, blah, blah. But it's a calling. So you roll with the punches because there is no other option. And I'm so glad that I'm talking about this on here, because I don't think people get my business. They almost see it like everybody else's business. And this isn't to try and create separation. It's what I was born with. It's what I was born with, and there's nothing else I can do. I'm a very good deliverer of very major, projects and programs in the UK and worldwide. I could easily go and do that, but this is my soul's work, and I have to do it. So it is within me, not because I've learnt it, because it is, and it's my job to teach other people how to do that, so that people can stop being in pain, stop suffering. Companies can start making the profits they deserve, get rid of all the trauma that we're experiencing as leaders, and be the leaders that we know we should be. What's your thoughts on the final bits?
I think this could be very new and open to people, because I think a lot of people become just, they're given those roles or titles as such, and that's how they see them, and they don't really think of what that means to them, and to others as well. And like I said, like, I would be very different working with leaders now compared to how I was, or even if I went back into those roles, I'd be very different from knowledge and experience. And I think that's probably where I go back to the point of it's a privilege that as well. But it's also a privilege being able to see that it is that, and seeing the value in it. And I think sometimes we don't do that enough, is really seeing that that's incredible to be a part of, and not take that for granted. I think it's not easy work.
No.
I think that, again, like, people want like a result. We're in a world where, right, we expect it tomorrow, and like, this stuff isn't as tomorrow. It's not easy. And sometimes as well, like we've said before, where there's a great story that I use on lots of the work I do with clients, where I talk about like the Mr. Miyagi scene in The Karate Kid. And I've, like, most of my clients have known this by now, but I talk about the fact of, he takes Daniel-san through like the car wash, and he's doing all the car, wax on, wax off. Then he gets him doing the fence, like the up and down the paint. He's like, why am I doing this? What he's seeing is then, when he goes into his little karate mode, is that, you know, the master was there all along.
Everything was for a purpose.
Value, discipline, all of those things, patience, mastering something that took time to get there. And then it's like, none of this makes sense sometimes. And it's very hard as a natural human being to want to be in control of things. And we talked, like you said, almost about the Tony Robbins style and the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, what we essentially feel we need and want is a level of security is under that, right? And security is and a belonging, but we feel we have to be, there's a big thing for people about control. And sometimes you don't have the answer to this right now. The puzzle pieces don't fit. It's not going to make sense, but it's being okay with that and allowing that, letting go the pressure and just being at peace with some things and present in the moment is really hard. But that's sometimes when the truly incredible can come through. Or actually, I just, not even can, like, could, that's when it will, but you've just got to let that be as well. But then also be open for help on that and like ask for it, like,
receive.
Be open to receive. Like, I often say to people that don't like, I don't like, I just like to give. But when you stop someone else from giving, you stop that whole back and forth. Same as money flow, right?
Completely.
If we don't spend things on stuff and we stop the money flow,
the money doesn't come in.
Right. So it's sort of like, I don't spend money. Well, that doesn't help. And it's exactly the same with giving. And again, it's changing perspectives for people to see that in a different way, that you stop that cycle, and that isn't good. So I think, there's that's what it brings to light for me. And I think that I can be hard on myself and think I've done enough, and then I can think, well, actually I've done loads, but I'm excited with the journey, and that's what I love with you. Like, I love the side of looking at intuition, challenge myself and seeing things differently, and thinking, God, imagine if I'd done that there differently, what would I have done now? How could I use that in this relationship?
Or what can I do moving forward, right?
And also I think, like you said, importantly, back to the point we said at the start, that leadership in so many hats. This is a leadership, like how I am with my niece, incredible relationship in my life, very important to me. How I am as a daughter, how I am as a friend, and a friend when you feel you can't be a friend for people, is that, being there for people as well when they go through tough times. I think all of those, that is embodying leadership, and that it's in all many walks of life that we can have that. It's really important to bring it all together.
And here's the thing, right? A couple of things. I know we're running out of time, but I'm like, let's couple more things. So here's the thing. People aren't just meant to follow you, because if there's nobody there in your team, or if there's nobody there to be a leader of, then there's no leadership. You can't be a leadership of just you. It's like you have to be a leadership of you and then others, right? So there's that bit as well. And part of being a leadership of you, as you say, is receiving. But also, you talked about the Mr. Miyagi film, which I love. Love The Karate Kid. But something also came to mind as well, is that, when you think of the valley, when you think of the mountain, everybody wants to get to the top of the mountain, but you have to go through the valleys first to get to the mountain. There's no getting to the mountain without going through the valleys. And as someone who's climbed Kilimanjaro, I know what I'm talking about. You have to go through the valleys to get to the mountain. So
just checking, you have to go through the valleys.
Just so you know. On that note, That was a good one.
You haven't finished that bit though, too. We've got to get through. That was it.
That was it.
Okay.
That was it. You just
love
got to get to the
Perfect.
mountain. To get to the mountain, you got through the
I think it was a great episode because I think that you're in your all with this, with what you share. I can see that in you. And if you're listening to this, please watch it back on YouTube because you'll often see my face is very different to how it might be, and it will build a lot of the responses that Victoria has. Yeah, incredible. Thank you for sharing.
No, thank you. It's
You're going to say thank you back to me?
I did say thank you. I said thank you. It's good. It's good. Do you know what? I'm enjoying these.
It's healthy to get out of our heads. It's healthy to chat,
Yeah.
discuss, be open, challenge things, challenge our thought process of things.
Yeah. You guys are like our therapists. We come in and we talk to you and you resonate with us and we just go, nah.
It's a cheaper form of therapy.
Yeah, it's a cheaper form of
It's the
therapy.
cheapest I've had.
Yeah, for sure.
I've had enough.
We'll see you on the next one. Speak to you soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening. If you know someone who needs to hear this, please share it with them, and we would love you to subscribe. Remember, the insights shared only have value when you take action.